Welcome to Off the Record with Jordan Rance, the show with real conversations, no BS, just unfiltered takes on pop culture, current events, and the stories that shape us. Whether it's a deep dive or a hot take, we are going off the record every single time. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm trying something out here. I'm doing it. It's podcast time, baby. It's here. We're here in the flesh liveness of the current moment in time. Welcome to the show. I'm Jordan Rance. You can call me Jord if you like. I kind of like when people call me Jord. It kind of, it creates that sense of personality, you know? That's my nickname. Call me whatever. Just, don't call me late for dinner. Okay. I saw an opportunity for a bad joke, and, I took it. You can choose to stop listening from this point on if you wish. Anyways, welcome. This is the first episode. I will warn you. Forewarning that I am not a professional at this. This is obviously something new to me. This is something that I've been working towards for quite some time, and it's something that I feel like I'm ready to dive into. However, it does, like anything, take practice. So bear with me on the ums and whatnot, and the sort of vocal... I don't really know what to call it. Like, I don't want to say vocal tics, because that makes me sound like I have Tourette's, which I don't. You'll hear me say things like, for example, like, I'll say that a lot. Just bear with me, okay? Who am I? I'm Jordan Rance. I was born and raised in Winnipeg, Canada. Little old Winnipeg. At the ripe age of 20 years old, almost 23 now, I moved out east to Toronto to pursue my acting career. I wanted to give it the best shot I could. I want to take this acting stuff as far as I can go. It's kind of funny to me to say acting stuff or acting thing, whatever. Because in the eyes of some people, being an actor is so out there and so far-fetched, and it's so out of the norm of, what, I don't know, a normal person does, that it's kind of weird to call it a job sometimes, even though that's very much what it is. I was thinking about that a while ago. I think I might have even been talking to someone about it. Imagine life without movies, TV shows, podcasts even, right? You may think that you could live without it. And sure, you could argue that, like, if we never had something like this and we didn't know any different, well, then maybe. But for the sake of the argument, let's say that this all existed. Movies, TV shows, all that shit existed. But, everybody just stopped doing it. Like, people would go fucking insane. They would go insane. Like, it's the thing, what the fuck would you do all the time? And perfect example, right? Like, 'cause think about a movie, whether you love that movie, you hate it, whatever it is, right? You can only watch it so many times. Well, especially if you hate it, you're only going to watch it maybe the once, and that's it. But even if you love it, right? I have movies that I love, right? Perfect, like, one thing right off the top of my head, and this is such a funny little tidbit because it just actually popped in my head in this very moment, is, has anybody ever seen the movie Marmaduke? It's like, if you haven't, it's a movie, it's a dog movie with, like, a big-ass dog, like a Great Dane, and, like, the dog kind of talks, but it's just, like, it's hard to explain. Like, it's pretty old. I think it has Owen Wilson in it, or maybe I'm thinking of Marley and Me, also a good movie. But anyways, the reason why I bring up Marmaduke is like I used to watch that movie over and over again. Over and fucking over again. I remember watching it like I think for a whole month straight when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I got the I don't know, privilege, we'll say, of having a TV in my room, but it only had a DVD player to it. Like it didn't. I am fairly young. I'm not gonna go, calling me old or whatever, but I'm old enough to say that I did not grow up with Netflix and Prime Video and all the shit that's out there nowadays. Like, I had a old ass TV in my room, like a box TV, a 3-dimensional thing, not no flat screen thing, a box TV, and it had a DVD player to it. So anytime I wanted to watch something, it had to be from a disc, from a movie that we owned. Now, some people could be listening. If you're like older than me, you could be like, wow, I grew up with like VHSs or whatever. Like, bro, I get it. This isn't a fucking competition. But, so, yeah. Where was I? First tangent of the day. Going off on whatever the fuck I was talking about. Be prepared for that. Be prepared for that. This is me just kind of just saying whatever I want to say, saying what's on my mind. I was talking about kind of like what if the, movies and TV shows, they existed, but people just stopped doing it. And to just take a moment and think about how fucking depressing life would be. Insane to think about. I wanted to start this podcast for a very long time. Like, this is probably, I'd say, a good solid on and off 2 years in the making. The biggest struggle for me was finding a solid name. I've always wanted this podcast to be very sort of easygoing, conversational. I intend to have a guest on the show way more oftentimes than not. The only reason why I don't for this one is just because I wanted to do a little intro first, kind of thing. First topic. What the fuck am I saying? Jesus. First, you get the point. Fuck, I can't even think of the word I'm thinking of. I'm like, totally lost my train of thought there. That's one thing I'm working on is, well, in an effort to not lose my train of thought so often, is to be more attentive and present in the moment. I did just hear that voice crack that I just did, but you know what? I'm not going to acknowledge it any further because it's done. Yeah, I've always struggled with that ever since a young fucking age. Like, I don't know how old I was, obviously, but I was a kid, and I've always lost my train of thought because I don't want to be one of those people that goes and says I have ADHD because I've never been tested or diagnosed with it, right? And I think, that's, I don't know. I've seen times where people just say they have it and they don't actually know if they have it. And for people that actually have it, it's a whole thing. Anyways, I'm not saying I have it. However, I speculate that I do based on the symptoms, right? It's near impossible a lot of the times for me to stay focused on, like, even right here in this moment, like, obviously I'm talking to the microphone, but I'm like constantly looking around at my surroundings. And I'll tell you right here, when I lost my train of thought there a second ago, I was looking out the window and I saw a fucking bird. I saw a bird flying past the window And my brain goes, instead of continuing to talk about what I was talking about, I am now focused on this bird, even though it didn't do anything special. It's not like it crashed into the building. It's not like it shit in the air. It just fucking flew. Just was living life. That's crazy. Crazy how the mind works. Is just like immediately in that moment, anything that I was talking about just did not exist anymore. I hope I'm not alone on that. It's something that pisses me off. I'm not going to lie. It's something that really does piss me off because I'll sometimes be thinking or talking about like something that's really important, you know, whether it's whether I'm passionate about it or whatever the case may be. But then I go and lose my train of thought to some dumb shit. You know, sometimes it'll go as far as like me just recalling some fucking random memory, not a significant memory, I will add, just a random fucking thing that happened. Like it could be even years ago. I don't know. I gotta, you know, work on that. I think part of or some of the guests will say that I'll have on here will hopefully be able to help me in my being present journey. I don't know. Okay. I'm not going to lie. I'm going based off my little show notes thing here. And as part of being fairly new to the podcast space and the podcast world and whatnot, it's going to sound a bit choppy, you know, in terms of like transitioning from topic to topic might not be great. So bear with me there. Yeah, I'll obviously get better at it. Like anybody does with anything, with time and commitment and dedication and all the good stuff. Let me tell you a little something about me. Well, even though I'm only 22, going to be 23 in June, I feel like I've already lived like fucking 5 lives at least. Like what I mean by that is, you know, obviously, you know, I'm an actor. I have moved to a different fucking city to pursue my acting career. But, you know, prior to that, I had different aspirations. And I'm not talking about, you know, as a kid, we're all like, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a police officer. You know, the basic fucking things. Every kid has that. And I had that, right? There was a good, solid amount of time that I was pretty convinced that I was going to be a police officer. Another voice crack. Pretty convinced I was going to be a police officer solely based on the fact that growing up, I really loved this show called Flashpoint. It's a Canadian show. It's filmed here in Toronto, and it was like a SWAT team, but they called like the unit that they called themselves was the SRU, which stood for the Strategic Response Unit. That was my favorite, like, non-comedy show ever. I loved it very much. And the fact that it's like, it was filmed in the city that I now live in, pretty fucking sick. Pretty fucking sick. It's cool. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about it. It's cool. There I go again. Train of thought lost. What the fuck was I talking about? Why did I... Oh, yeah. But I'm talking about being a cop. So I loved that show. This is so funny. I feel like also like my train of thought will not get lost as much if I'm talking to someone. It is fairly difficult when I'm talking to myself. Like if I'm talking to the listener. Yes, I understand that. Blah, blah, blah. Mumbo jumbo garbage. But in this moment, as I am saying these words, talking to myself. So it's a bit difficult, but I'm trying my best. So yes, A for effort. I wanted to be a cop because I loved the show very much. But, I also was in a phase of wanting to be a teacher. In the house that my brother and I grew up in, we had this room in our basement called the toy room. Now, I don't know if that's something that... No, that's something that we all called it. I was going to say, I don't know if that's something that me and my brother just called it, but no, I think that was just a generic, or not a generic, that's the wrong word I used, general term for it. Anyways, in that said toy room, there was, as you could probably imagine, toys. We were kids, so lots of that shit. But I remember one year, I don't know if it was for a birthday or for Christmas, whatever, I asked for a whiteboard. And not like a handheld one, like a pretty big one that you put on the wall. I wanted a whiteboard because I wanted to give my brother lessons, math lessons. Good thing I specified math lessons because if I just left it as give my brother lessons, that could be insinuated as beating him up or teach him a lesson. Whatever. I saw the opportunity, took it. Okay? Moving on. Yeah, I wanted a whiteboard really bad, and I eventually got one. I remember giving my brother spelling tests, math lessons. It was the whole 9 yards. I just loved being creative, I think, more than anything. And bringing value to other people's lives has also been a very important aspect of my life for as long as I can remember. I think that's kind of what started the teaching, or that's where the teaching started, rather, is, wanting to bring that value and figuring out what that value looked like. But in terms of my creative side of things, I remember where that started, because before teaching, I really wanted to be an author. There is a Canadian author. I don't think he makes or writes books anymore. I'm not sure. I have no idea. But definitely when I was a kid, he was writing these books. His name's Robert Munsch. I don't know if he was a Winnipeg local or Canadian. I'm fairly certain he was Canadian. Anyways, I'm not going to go as far as to say he was my fucking idol, but I feel like, in a sense, at least, I looked up to him, because he inspired me to start writing books. And I can remember folding up a piece of printer paper. I was going to go off on a tangent, but I stopped myself. Maybe I'll revisit it. Printer paper into 4 bits, folded in 4 bits, and made a little mini story. What's another thing about the books? In grade 3, I wrote a book about Easter. I don't remember what it was called. It was Easter egg hunt. I did some fucking thing like that. No idea. I was in grade 3. I wrote it up on Microsoft Word, and I, made a cool font for the title and everything like that. It was rainbow lettering and everything. And I remember my grade 3 teacher read my book to the class. Do you know especially as a grade 3, like, kid, whatever, a third grader. Do you know how fucking cool I felt? Like, I was the shit, bro. I had my story that I wrote read out to the class. I don't remember how that book went. Like I said, I don't even remember how, like, the fucking, what the title was. But if I ever find that book, which there's a chance that my mom has it. She keeps fucking everything of mine, which I think is funny, but also, like, totally get it. Yeah, that'll be really funny if I'm able to find even any of the books, because I wrote a couple. There was the Easter one I remember vividly. Vivid enough to remember that it was an Easter book. I don't remember, the specifics of the book. There was another one. I can't remember anything about that. I can't remember what the topic was or anything. But I do remember writing another one. As a kid, there was this thing called the Santa Claus Parade in Winnipeg, and I'm sure there's similar things like that in other cities, countries, whatever. But in Winnipeg, there was always this yearly Santa Claus Parade. I think it was pretty early, like for Christmas. It was like sometimes as early as like late November. But my grandpa actually worked for a company that, I don't know, fucking was in the parade, right? And when he was working for that company, he he was able to get me and my brother into the van or truck, whatever you want to call it, that was in the parade. So we were in the parade. I remember waving to all the people in the crowd. I was throwing fucking candy canes at the people. Bro, again, I was the shit. I was feeling so good about that, right? And I remember writing about, I don't know if I wrote a book about it or if I just wrote like a journal entry type thing about it. But I vividly remember my grade 3 or grade 4, whatever. I can't remember what grade this one was, but the voice crack. I can't remember where this one was. One of the early ages. And I was writing about how I was in the parade. And my teacher didn't know about this. And when she read that I was in the parade, she corrected me, saying that I was not in the parade, I was at the parade. And then I remember telling her, being like, no, I was in the parade. I was in that shit. And then I was telling her all about it and everything. And then she was like, whoa, wow, that's so cool, so cool. Again, as a little kid, bro, holy fuck. I was on top of the world. I was on cloud 9. Crazy. I don't know, a funny story about actually something that happened one year at that Santa Claus parade. I don't know how old I was. I was very young. I want to say maybe 8. I don't know. That's just a guess. I was getting into the van or truck. I can't remember exactly what type of vehicle it was. I was getting in there, and I had my hand on the door frame, reached up on the. It's so hard because you can't see me, obviously, but I had it hand up on the door frame as I was getting in. It was to help me get into the car. And I guess as I had my hand up, someone had closed the door, not noticing that I had my hand there. And all 4 of my fingers on my right hand. And actually, as I'm saying this right now, I'm looking at my right hand, reliving this moment. Someone had accidentally closed the door on my hand, and I remember like fucking screamed in absolute terror. It's like in the blink of an eye, like my whole fucking life crumbled. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if like my kid thinking, that sounded weird. That sounded like I was saying like I had a kid and they were thinking, I meant like my child brain, my you get what I'm saying. Fuck off, Jordan. I wouldn't be surprised if I was thinking like that, like my hand would be broken or my hand would fall off or my whatever. Just funny to think, you know. Funny to think how like any injury happens. There we go, another tangent, another topic, another thing we go, another road we go down, right? Isn't it funny how injuries happen? I've gotten injured in some pretty fucking crazy ways. Well, not crazy comparatively to other people, but crazy, I'd say pretty crazy. I remember one time, this is when I was like a preteen, I had the brilliant idea of running down a hill, so at a downward slope, with our dog. And what I didn't realize before doing that is that our dog can run probably twice as fast, if not more, if not faster, twice as fast than me. So, in the first few seconds, started off real fun. You know, we ran down the hill, but I'd say within the first 3 seconds after that, I kind of like fell the fuck over and started getting dragged by our dog. Now, obviously, I'm not mad at the dog. You know, a dog is a dog, and right, nothing wrong there. It was my stupidity. However, I remember getting up and looking at my arm, and same thing that I was just saying about my right hand from the other story. I'm now looking at the exact place on my left elbow where I had fallen, and I'd like completely like, I can't even really describe it that well. It was like gushing blood. This massive cut. Like, it had to have been like at least like, I don't know, 4 or 5 centimeters in diameter. That's about an inch or so for my American peoples listening. Yeah, it was a pretty big one, pretty bad thing, and it had like pus coming out of that shit and everything, and I'm probably grossing people out, so I'll leave it at that. It was a bad cut. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is that like now I'm looking at it, and obviously I remember exactly where that happened, right? And I'm like, well, that sounded fucking stupid because it's just audio, but that was me slapping my elbow. Fuck off with the dirty minds, okay? I was slapping my elbow in the exact spot where that cut happened. The big, terrible, bad cut. Injury. And now it's like it never even happened, right? No scar, no nothing. Which for like how big the injury was, I am damn surprised that there is no cut or no scar of any kind. Like, it's as if it never happened. Like, you very well could not believe me that it happened, but I promise you it did. I also have another funny injury story. And my parents listening to this, particularly my stepdad, will get an absolute fucking rile up about this one. When I lost my eyebrow for a week. Yeah. Okay. Context. I was taking taekwondo classes with my friend Brandon. And this was at the end of one of the classes. First off, like some context here. There was a very clear rule at the place that we went. Clear rule that stated, do not run in or out of the change room. I ran out of the change room as someone was running into the change room, and we fucking clashed heads, like headbutted each other. And another vivid thing, this is going to sound so funny, but I remember being like, it's like I was like stunned or something like that, because I remember like being dizzy for a second, and like it's so funny because you can't see what I'm seeing, but I see it in my head right now of like I bent over and I was looking at the ground. I was all dizzy and shit. Right? I don't even know how the fuck I was still on my feet. I was like dazing in and out type shit, right? And I remember, since I was bent down looking at the ground, like hunched over, I remember a drop of blood dripping from my head, like from my eyebrow area, and it hit the floor. And keep in mind, I was very dizzy at this point. I remember seeing the blood drop from my head to the floor. I don't remember what actually happened. Like, now come to think of it, like, what the fuck was bleeding? It wasn't anything crazy because I didn't have to get any like surgery or nothing like that. So it's not like my fucking head cracked open, but I don't know, it was maybe a cut or something like that. Backtracking a little bit to when I'd said I'd lost my eyebrow for a week, and as funny as it sounds, I think that's actually what went on, because I didn't get these stitches, but they were like weird, like Band-Aid things that were like, they like kept my eye, like kept the eyebrow, like the cut closed essentially so that it could like heal faster or something like that. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't stitches. I do remember that. It wasn't stitches. I don't remember what the things were. But yeah, in that time that I had those stitched things on, I am fairly certain that the eyebrow hair on my left eyebrow was gone. And that shit had to grow back. What a crazy life I've lived. What a crazy life I lived. Insane. And now it's like it never even happened. Right? Wow. I've gone 33 minutes talking here. First and foremost, I think I've done a pretty fucking good job at like just non-stop talking. That's the goal for this podcast, is to have it be raw and uncut for the most part, not unless something really needs to be taken out. But for the most part, it's gonna be raw. It's gonna fuck off again with the dirty minds. It's gonna be real conversations, no BS, that kind of thing. You feel me? I'm gonna have guests on a lot. I think I had mentioned that in this episode already. The reason why I am not having a guest on right now is just because I wanted to kind of have a first little, intro episode where it was just me. I want to take a little bit of time, super quick, to kind of share how I came up with the name Off the Record. I fucking forgot it for a second. That's stupid. How I came up with the name and slash like how I fell in love with it, we'll say. I'm going to be fully transparent and fully honest here. I got the inspiration for the name, drumroll please, from ChatGPT. Now you can say what you want about ChatGPT, about AI in general. I obviously know that it has pros and cons for sure, and there's definitely some things that I would not want AI anywhere near, right? Especially being an actor and all. You know, it is a scary world that you know, there already has been AI like little fucking videos and little movies and everything. Like, if it's looking as real as it is now, kind of fucking crazy to think like how real that could turn out to be and how real it could start looking. Anyways, that's one of the negative aspects of AI, or as A1, as Linda McMahon referred to it as. But one of the positives, pros, is that it can help you brainstorm topics, and that's exactly what I did here. So I'd literally pulled up a new chat or whatever in ChatGPT, and I've learned that if you be really in detail and really specific, it can help you better. So I remember this was literally earlier today. I was being super specific, being like, I'm struggling to find a name. I was kind of telling the fucking thing like what I kind of want the show to be about, and it came up with a few different ideas, and one of the ideas was something along the lines of off the record. It wasn't exactly that, I don't think, but I really liked the idea of it because of the fact that I very much care about my public image, like so much, to the point where like I feel like I'm naturally PR trained. I know what to say. Well, for the most part, there's some slip ups, and thankfully I don't think it's, I don't know, gone anywhere. Well, hopefully not. I don't know. Not that I know of. And not to say I've done fucking terrible things, but, you know, as any human does, you slip up at times. But point being is that I do care about that, about the public image. Because, you know, being honest with you, again, I do see my career as an actor and as a public figure going very far, right? Because I believe that if you commit to something and have enough drive and determination and dedication for something, that you will succeed. You will, you know, see success. I literally said the same thing in a different way. That's fucking funny. Like I've heard some people say that, oh, like it's very lucky to get, or to be successful in the acting world. And while that isn't completely false, right? Because I do understand there's a lot of competition. It's rejection city out here, right? I'm a fairly new actor, but I've already been on a fair share of auditions, and more often times than not, well, actually all of them, all of the auditions that I booked, or did, excuse me, I haven't booked, right? So I totally get that competition is out there, rejection is out there, but to go and say that it is purely just luck only, is absolute horse shit, and anybody who tells you that, as far as I'm concerned, is a fucking piece of shit. I'm just going to say that. Because, and I will back that up with a little like video clip I saw. I think it was of Tom Cruise. He was sharing, it was like some kind of award acceptance speech. I don't know what kind of award it was, but it was some kind of award acceptance speech or something. And he had said something along the lines of, it's not just luck, you have to create that luck. And how do you create that luck? Well, you create that luck by putting in the work, putting in the time, the commitment, the dedication, the drive, the determination, right? All that stuff. If I never moved to Toronto to fully pursue acting, well, I probably wouldn't be as far as I am in my career. Not saying I'm some fucking, seasoned vet. But, definitely further along living here in Toronto than if I would still be living in Winnipeg. I'm not saying Winnipeg is just like some fucking mumbo jumbo small town that no one knows about. The film scene is growing there for sure. But undeniably, Toronto or Vancouver, maybe Montreal is the places to be for sure. Yeah, I don't remember what exactly I was talking about. I was talking about like the name, how off the record, and pretty much just long story short, the reason why I love it, all right, when I saw it, I was like fucking goosebumps, like this is it. Finally found the name, is because it allows me to be like true and real and uncensored and, not saying I'm, gonna be, a shitty fucking person on here, but, there are gonna be things on here that I will say and talk about that maybe I wouldn't talk about on other platforms. So, and that's what I really love about podcasts in general, is that I think it allows you to be more free and that kind of thing. I think I'm going to end it off here. I've been going for like 40 minutes, which is actually like surprising, seeing how it's just me. I've been talking for 40 minutes. Turns out I'm a pretty good yapper, as it turns out, even though sometimes I'll be sitting there like literally not knowing what the fuck to say. I think that's in part of not being present, which is, like I said, something I'm trying to get better at, and something that I will get better at with time, right? Like anything. In terms of like the, coming back for more, I don't really have like any kind of idea on like the terminology to use. I don't know if you like follow the podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, I'm sure I'm going to have it on there. I'm going to distribute it to all the fucking places like Spotify for sure. I want it on Apple Music, not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, whatever. All the things are. Probably will have it on there because I want to reach out to as many people as I can. I do have social medias at Jord Rance, JORDRANCE. For the most part, I think on like YouTube, it's like Jordan Rance or whatever. I have a link tree. I'll probably have it linked somewhere that you could click on if you do decide. Of course, I also have made social medias for the show, Off the Record with Jordan Rance. If you do, or if you have been enjoying just hearing me yap, feel free to, follow the show or subscribe. I think I might put this on YouTube as just like a little audio thing. I'm not sure. I'm going to have some guests on. I've already reached out to a couple people asking if they'd want to be a guest. So I'm going to have that. I'm thinking episode's going to be every Friday. So next Friday, when you are listening to this, I will have another episode out. I'm going to do myself a favor just to make things easy. I'm like always going to be recording these shows, I'd say probably at least a month in advance, just so I can have that breathing room. So that's kind of funny. You're probably listening to this like, fuck, it might even be June by the time you're listening to this. It's April, mid-April, April 16th right now. Well, anyways, I'm going to head out of here. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Jordan Rance. Call me Jord. I'm going to get better at that outro as time goes on. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll catch you in the next one.